Randy,
What is up, my friend?
hey,
Thank you so
what's
much
up
for
with
having me.
you? How are things?
Going well, man. Just trying to figure out how to make things happen in life, grinding away.
Bumbling and stumbling, isn't that what we all
Oh
do?
yeah, yep, burning that candle, right?
Yeah. Well, you are burning the candle. I can tell because I looked at your. For people who don't know, and for people who are listening to the podcast, this is being recorded as a video as well. And for those of you watching it as a video, it's being recorded as a podcast. But I'm looking at my other screen here, and I've got your book in front of me with some really nice reviews on it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's actually how I tracked you down. Is because I obviously I try to keep on top of who's writing in this industry, who's adding value, like who's talk, not just blah blah talk, but real stuff. And the reviews on your Amazon book, Start It, Build It, Grow It, pretty good reviews.
Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of surreal to looking back. I mean, it hasn't been that long. It came out January 1st of, I think, was it last year, maybe the year before?
Yeah,
Um, yeah, January 1st, 2018. So last year. And you just kind of get this idea and you're like, hey, I want to kind of share some things and do my best to try to, you know, share what we've learned and kind of tell a good story and put something out there for the industry.
right.
And then you fast forward and you get people who, and the ultimate goal is to be able to affect people's lives, right? But when you finally get that reinforcement where people are like, hey man, what you said and your experience and what I learned, helped change my life. It helped change
Yeah,
my business. You get all these like positive like reinforcements where,
yeah,
they're running more efficient businesses. They're taking their businesses to new levels. More importantly, they're developing as leaders, they're developing as great people personally as well, and families and all. And it's just cool, man. It's pretty
yeah,
surreal, and I'm just humbled and grateful for all the response that we've gotten and for all the opportunities that's led to
yeah.
by kind of just taking that risk, man, going out there and
Doing
spending
it.
a year writing a book.
Sometimes hard to explain to a spouse. What are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm writing a book. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
I'm writing a
Okay.
book. Oh, right. Well, let me know when you get back to work, right?
Yeah. Make sure you pick the kids up after school.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Hey, do the laundry. But isn't it interesting? And I run across this a lot as a coach because I'll talk to somebody in some town. Let's just pick the middle of the states, Nebraska, and that person will say, "Well, it's different here in Nebraska," and they'll tell me their situation, and okay, that's your situation. Then I'll talk to somebody in Florida, and they'll say, "Dom, you don't understand. In Florida, we got this problem." And then you talk to somebody in Washington State, and they're like, "Dom, we got this problem," and they're all the same problem.
Yeah.
But we all
Oh,
think in our town, in our corner of town, we have an individual and unique problem or thing that we're dealing with and growing the business. And it's really the same for all of us.
yeah. How many times, and obviously we both connect, we both do coaching and consulting. I mean, how many times you hear well, you don't understand. My business is different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know every business is different, but no, there's some principles here that
Yeah.
that we just got to get dialed in, and we can work through this and we'll
Yeah.
figure it out.
Basic fundamentals, right?
Yep.
Basic fundamentals. And that's why a certain sport can be played all around the world because the rules of the sport are the same. And as long as you stick to those rules and you do those things, you can play that sport wherever you are in the world. And it's the same with business. It's
Yeah,
just
and the
it works a
success
certain way.
comes in the execution.
Yeah.
It's how well you execute.
And the
That's
stubbornness, I think. There's probably a lot of stubbornness to success.
yeah, pride gets in our way a lot.
For those people who haven't read the book, let's dial it way back though. So, how did you get to be a guy who wrote a book for the subtitle is The Contractor's Guide to Success? How did you get to be the guy who's talking about how contractors can be more successful?
That's a great question, and I haven't really answered it this way before. But coming from a guy that barely even scored above like uh, you know any respectable score in like an ACT, when it comes to reading comprehension, I was
Yeah,
awful. I'm a math guy. I'm an idea guy. I can do numbers, but when it comes to reading, writing, that sort of thing, I'm just awful. I barely even
yeah,
got into college. Um, but I guess historically it all started, little did I know, the beginning of my career. So when I got into, I've always been an entrepreneur. I started a construction company. Oh man, shoot, 2006. So 13 years ago. And
yeah,
this is before Amazon and all these things started taking off, and there before the the information age was in full effect, and at that time, I still knew the value of knowledge, right? I went to school, and one of the biggest things you take away from just business and life and success and entrepreneurship is the faster and the more you can learn, the better opportunities you're going to have to succeed. So couple that with surrounding yourself with good people and learning from good people. So I was always just trying to learn. I knew I was young. I knew I wanted to kind of make waves and make things happen in life and in my career. Yeah. And I figured the path of least resistance was to learn as much as I can, as fast as I can. So I just was always, and to this day, I'm a sponge. I'm always learning. I mean, you get an email from me, it says learn and grow every day. I live by that. Like, if I'm not learning, I'm not surrounding myself by somebody I can learn something from. I'm spending my time like inefficiently.
You're wasting time. Yeah.
Wasting time if you're not learning and if you're not growing as a person. But nevertheless, I searched far and wide. When I started my construction company, I was like, hey, I got this business knowledge. I learned how to build stuff. I can build pretty much anything with my hands. And I want to build the houses and have a construction company and do general contracting. And I looked, there was nothing out there aside from some textbooks that I could find that was an actual kind of applicable business book. I had no clue at the time. Obviously, I was just like trying to learn. I searched, all the bookstores locally, and there wasn't really much of online presence, so never could find anything.
Yeah.
Fast forward 10 years, a whole bunch of mistakes, and actually some pretty cool successes. Later, it just dawned on me one day that, hey, our space, especially in the roofing, general contracting, home services space, it's still archaic. It's low barrier to entry. There's a lot of people.
There's no barrier to entry.
No, really. You have a hammer and a ladder. You can start a construction business, right?
Hey, don't make fun of my first construction business.
Hey, I had an Acura Integra when I started, man. It was
Volkswagen Golf and a ladder.
Oh yeah, dude. We had the fold up ladders when they first came out. And I totally got lost there. But so fast forward, we built a business, and I kind of just dawned on me one day that, hey, in this industry, I think I've had a feeling that I bet you a lot of people, are really good with their hands. They're probably good at sales, good with people, but they just don't have the business experience. They don't have the business savvy they need to be successful. And I realized that the entire industry is overwhelmed by the one man chuck in a truck type of contractor, right? The contractor that has all the intentions in the world, wants to build a great business, wants to figure things out, and they just can't get out of their own way. They don't know how to hire. They don't know how to run a business. They don't know how to operate P&Ls. They don't know what the numbers are. They're just living paycheck to paycheck. They could build anything, and they have all the intentions. They might be the goodest hearted person in the world, but you just don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Opportunity came. I had some investments. I had bought a house 10 years prior that was like terrible investment, and then 10 years later, we actually made a little bit of money on it, and I had a little bit of money to kind of invest into this project. And I was like, you know what? Tell you what, and at the same time, I got connected with my publisher, and I spent about a year putting the book together. What people don't realize is I was about halfway done, and I scrapped the whole idea and changed the whole premise of the book. So,
I believe you. You know how many half-finished books I have on this hard drive?
Oh, well, you got to get it done, my friend.
I know. I'm busy doing a podcast with you.
Right. Well, and the key to it was blocking, and I talk about time, like time management, right? I committed for as long as it was going to take a certain time block every single week, turn my phone off, and that was all I focused on for 3 to 4 hours a week. And that was it. So
you blocked off time on your phone, and then you just
on my schedule.
That time is just for writing the book.
Yep. Just block. For me, it was Wednesday. So Wednesday morning, I just knew that, hey, Wednesday mornings, that was my day. I knew that I had this project that was going to take a long time, and I had to chip away at it one step at a time. Yeah. And I just blocked off time to work on it. And it took about a year. It wouldn't have taken that long if I hadn't scrapped the whole idea, but it took about a year, and then went through the publishing and editing and all that sort of stuff. And then came out right at the beginning of last year. And my publisher was a real good help with all of that. And I think it ended up four or five countries it went bestseller, and people in Australia and England and all these other countries were buying it. And I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So all that work. Now your wife knows what you're doing Wednesdays.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't take the kids to school on Wednesdays. I'm working.
Hey, I've got a question for you though, because I think, the people listening to this don't want to write a book. They want to run a company.
Yeah.
And just this week, as a matter of fact, yesterday, I did a strategic planning session with a client. And at the end of the whole day session, I asked him, what are the big takeaways? And the one owner said the big takeaway was when we talked about default diary or block scheduling or time blocking that you just said there. So it's interesting how many people are not using time blocking and then come and say, I'm so busy, the day is full, I can't get anything done. How do you use time blocking, and how should a contractor use something like that?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I run into that all the time. We're too busy being busy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it starts with prioritization, right? As you know, you got to prioritize, make a list. These are all the things you do any given day or any given week, and then prioritize the top 2 or 3, delegate the rest, or just literally do something else with them, because the majority of it is what Pareto's law, 80-20. 80% of the crap you do it doesn't help you move the ball forward in building a successful business.
Yeah.
So as a leader, you got to figure out what are the 2 or 3 most important things that I have to do each and every day, each and every week. Prioritize those, put those onto your calendar, and lock it in place.
Yeah.
Put it in there first.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say you're just going to have a calendar full of really efficient time. You still got fires to put out. You still got a business to run. You're going to have all these challenges.
Yeah.
Block in time in between those blocks to have time to put out fires and have time to deal with the headaches that are going to come out throughout the day. But if you wake up in the morning, your phone starts ringing, you got to go to this, that, and the other, and next thing you know, all the priorities just start stacking up, and you're not getting anything done. And you're spinning your wheels. Your career goes by. And you look back and you're like, yeah, I did okay, but I never had any time to do anything. Can't take vacation.
Right. I didn't hit the goals I wanted.
Yeah. To this day, a good strategy that I personally use is Tuesdays. For instance, today I happen to have some time off this afternoon, which is why we were able to schedule this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And all morning I've been in meetings, starting at 8:00, meeting with my commercial team. Right after that, meeting with my staff. Right after that, meeting with my leadership team. Take a lunch break. Right after that, meeting with my financial team. I know exactly what's going on across my entire company, and I spent half a day doing it.
What's interesting on that, I'm so glad you said that. And you and I really have never talked before this, other than the 20-minute prep call that we've done, right? So we're worlds apart physically. We've never talked before, and yet we use the same success principles to show other people how to drive their companies forward. The key, there's many keys to time management, but if I don't run my calendar, somebody else will.
Yep.
Right? So Tuesdays at 2 or Wednesdays at 1, let's use something really common, like a partners meeting. There's 2 partners in a company, and the one thing I'll hear, and I don't know if you hear this as well, but they'll say, we just never have time to meet as partners. Okay? Make it every Tuesday at 2. And that gives you 52 chances to meet this year. And if you miss half of them, you're probably going to double what you had last year. Because it's on the calendar.
Absolutely. But here's another thing I would say to that is don't just meet to meet. Have an agenda.
Well, of course, yeah. But block the time.
Block that time off and have a preset discussion, preset agenda every week. And obviously it should include goal setting and review. Like, what was your, and I'm not, don't
Are you sure we haven't talked before? Are you?
I guess not. I don't know. I am a big believer of Vern.
Oh, that's the book I use. So for those of you who are listening that didn't see the video, Randy just held up a book called Scaling Up. That sits in the background of so many successful companies, because that's the strategic plan that we use to show business owners how to reinvent the business while they're flying the plane. Yep. Love it. I'm glad you had that.
I'm in process now of working through the 1-page strategic plan with my clients. And I just had a group with the client. I had clients in my office just a couple last week. And we went through that and a SWOT analysis and all the things that you can do to just figure out where your business is at, build a organizational chart. And you kind of got to be able to visualize this is where we're at in order to figure out where you're going to go. Right. We all have these big dreams, and then we just spin our wheels to try to get there. But take a step back and analyze where you're at, and then prioritize what you got to do to get to the next level.
Yeah.
And then rinse and repeat.
Rinse and repeat. That's the the realization, and I think people listening to this show or your show would understand that, because by default, they're already listening to this stuff. So they're looking for new ideas. So it's kind of weird talking to them, to those of you listening, because you're already ingrained in this. But there's a lot of people out there who are just saying, I'm just going to work harder. I'll get that success if I just keep working harder. Working harder is what got you to here, but you can't just work harder. Physically, you can't do it. Maybe you're getting a little bit older and you're tired. Maybe you've got kids. Or the worst thing I ever heard from somebody once, this was a basement mold remediation company. He said, I already lost one wife to this business. I don't want to lose this one. Right? There's a lot on the line.
There's a lot of people
find
can
ways to work
that.
smarter, right?
Yeah.
Time management, having a strategic plan.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. You'll hear about it in the book. I mean, I wanted to write the book not in a, hey, this is a textbook for doing this. This is the lesson that was learned, and this is what I did. Like I try to incorporate like real life experiences and failures and total epic screw ups. Less than a decade ago, I was completely bankrupt. And we were able to work through all that and figure things out. So it wasn't until I figured out what self-awareness was, time management, and the power of delegating and finding and surrounding yourself with people who are actually smarter and better and harder working than I am. And that is a mindset shift we've got to work through as well. Yeah. And we're able to really make some things happen. But a short while ago, I literally got as far as I could, because I had a mentality that I can just outwork anybody. That was it. I'll just outwork you, and I'll figure it out. Yeah. But it wasn't until you start working smarter and not to plug you or me or coaching, but this day and age, like, you got to have some sort of support. You got to have a coach, a mentor, virtual training, all the things that are out there that weren't out there at the beginning of my career, like that are out there now. Yeah. It's just accelerating people's growth and their knowledge, their knowledge learning curve. And it wasn't until I embraced that, started working with coaches and mentors and these sort of things. And it just accelerated everything. And then I'm like, all right, well, now I know all this. I still have multiple coaches, but I'm able to share that with other people. And that's kind of how the effect worked.
For people who are listening, who think that what Randy and I are talking about is self-serving because we're coaches, it's not. Think for a second about your favorite sport. You're watching football, or soccer, or baseball, hockey. It doesn't matter what the sport is. But you settle down. It's the weekend. You're going to see the big game. You've got your favorite beverage in hand. You're in your comfortable chair, whatever it is. Maybe you got your buddies around. You're watching the big game. Game comes on. Your team takes the field. And then the announcer says, we don't know what's going on, but the coaching staff will not be joining the team. This is your favorite team. What are you thinking right now about that game?
Game over.
Game over, man. Game over. And yet how many of us, including me, and it sounds like you've had that experience too, for years, I was out there doing it without that. You know what? Coaching is perspective. You just need that perspective, somebody who's not in there all that time. And so for lots of people listening to these podcasts, being smart, turning their car into a university, right? By listening to outside ideas, finding ways to spark their mind, that's the start of it. That really is. I'm so glad, we started talking about time management. And now we are here talking about the perspective that you need to be a business owner, not the guy swinging the hammer, climbing the ladder, ducking under the stairs, whatever it is we do for a living, right?
Yep, absolutely. It's all about delegation and automation, right?
Yeah. So looking at your book there, I noticed that you started your first entrepreneurial venture with selling candies in the back of the bus.
Yeah, that was, I guess, the humble beginnings. I just figured out that, it's just the standard buy low, sell high, right? Isn't that the baseline of every business? Is buy low, sell high? Yeah. Figure out how to buy something at a bulk rate and break it down and sell it for more. And at the end of the day, you can turn a profit. That was just fun hobby. I just, was able to convince my mom to take me to Sam's Club or, whatever the
whatever the store is, and buy your stuff in bulk, right?
Get the box of blow pops and put them in my backpack and sell them one at a time for $0.25 a piece or whatever. I don't even know if I actually made any money, but the idea was there. The thought process was there.
You're the definition of a self-made man. That's what it is.
Sure, yeah. And just trial and error, just keep trying.
So somebody that's listening to the show, let's give them a takeaway lesson here. I mean, we've already talked about time management, right? About blocking out time to do things. What's one of the most important meetings that you think a business owner can have? Let's assume they're having no meetings right now. None at all. They're just running hard. They've got a crew of a couple people, 10, 20 people. What's the first meeting that you think should be on that list of possibilities for have a preset meeting every Wednesday at 1 or Tuesday at 2?
Well, I can't answer that with just one, because the one that comes to mind is probably the one that people are going to scoff at the most. But it's a finance meeting.
Oh, the finance
Cash
and forecast.
flow. Understand where you are right now.
Yeah.
How much money do you have? How much money is it that you're going to have to spend? How much money do you have coming in? And are you going to be broke at the end of this month? That's a meeting that you got to have.
So, Randy, if I hear you right, what you're saying is having that finance meeting, forecasting meeting of some sort, regardless of the size of your company, is a good place to start.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna go into two key meetings. The first one, as I was talking about, was the finance meeting, right? You need to know as an owner how much money you have, how much money you have that you anticipate spending, how much money you're going to get this month,
yeah,
and how much is going to be left over at the end of the month. That is the most basic premise, and none of us do that.
Yeah,
None of us know where we stand, but at the end of the day, we're running a service-based business, and if we can get to a point where we know our numbers, we also know at the end of the month, if we pay all our bills and we have $1 left over, it was a successful month. We did our jobs.
Let's just start with $1. Because if we're $1 in the black, at least we're not in the red, right?
Exactly. And then from there, you get better, you get more refined and fine-tuned. So get with your CPA, get with your bookkeeper, and figure out, look at a P&L, like look at your cash flow statement, and figure out like where you stand. That's one meeting, okay? That's high level, how to become a CEO of your company, fiduciary for your company. Next meeting, GSNR, goal setting and review. Every single meeting, regardless of whether you have a staff of 1 or a staff of 50, we actually in our team, we have a number of different divisions, and every week each division sets down and has a meeting. Meeting has an agenda. There's news, notes, updates, whatever we're working on at the time. Right. But everyone in that meeting sets a goal, reviews their last week's goal, and kind of gives them. We do kind of an evaluation. That way, there's everybody. That way, these meetings are really effective. Yeah. Just meeting to talk about crap and listen to people yell at you and just that's no good, right? Yeah. Having a preset goal setting and review in every meeting, that's the place to start. Start that as fast as you can, and all it takes is a simple spreadsheet. Put everybody's name at the top, and then put a date column down the left. And if it's every week, every 2 weeks, whatever that meeting is, what was last week's goal? What was this week's goal? Did you achieve your goal? Why or why not? Yeah. And go from there. And you'll be amazed at how that brings everybody together and pushes everybody towards that common goal of building a great business.
What's funny, and again, we've never really talked before, but one of the most popular downloads off my site is a script that I have. It's the agenda and the script for the finance and forecast meeting.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
Yeah, people. I'll email it to you afterwards. Yeah, people download that one all the time because I think there's a recognition. Like, we got to know where our numbers are at. But how do you run that meeting? And if you're not a numbers person, it's kind of intimidating, right? Mm-hmm. But we're not talking about the balance sheet, and we're not talking about the income statement. At least from my perspective, I'm talking about the numbers and the patterns in the numbers.
Yeah, cash in, cash out, expected cash in, expected cash out.
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
As that.
Brian,
and you don't have to be
Brian Tracy for a long time, right?
Okay, you're talking about that, yeah.
Yeah, Brian says it's easy to get a 2-finger MBA. Now, this isn't rude or impolite, but if you hold up your hand, your index finger and the impolite finger next to it. In my case, the index finger is shorter than the bad driver finger next to it, but the shorter finger is make sure your expenses are low and your sales are high. There's your 2-finger MBA, my friend. It just doesn't get more complicated than that, right? It's a 2-finger MBA.
And you don't have to be a finance guy. If one-on-one, if you don't have a bookkeeper, don't call right now. You're driving. However, the first thing on your tomorrow morning, you not only get a bookkeeper. But if you do have a bookkeeper and you're not on a regular meeting and you're not connected at this level with your bookkeeper to know where you are at any given time, you need a new one.
Yeah.
I learned this in college, 101, business 101. You got to have a good bean counter and you got to have a good attorney.
Yep.
Right. Those are the two things you don't need to do on your own, but you just got to have the good support there, right?
Yeah.
You can figure out the rest from there. But how do you build a business if you don't know your numbers?
Fantastic. Hey, this has been a really, really good interview. I appreciate you being on the show, and I think you added a lot of value to our listeners here. Probably going to have you back another day for another topic.
Let's do it. Part 2, man. We can go all day long.
I think we could. You see me laughing as you're talking, and I'm like, this guy's like my brother. It's this. We're talking about the same stuff.
Yeah, except you're much better looking.
Well, yeah, you might have the wrong filter on your camera there. Hey, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, Randy, or they want to buy your book, why don't you tell us, your book's on Amazon. It's super easy to find, but tell us more about you and how we can find you.
Yep. Book's on Amazon. I run a coaching platform called the Roofing Academy. So for roofing contractors, and you can find me there at randy@theroofingacademy.com is my email for that, as well as all the social media platforms. So Randy Brothers or Randy J Brothers, we're everywhere. Most people find me on Facebook or LinkedIn, and you can message me there. And I'm on DMs and messaging all the time. That's just the new way to do business. I mean, no one even uses a phone or email anymore. It's all about that Facebook direct messenger. So I'm on there all the time, and feel free to reach out to me.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate you taking the time here in your busy day and for putting us in your block schedule. That might be the big takeaway from today's call, is that default diary block schedule thing. That is, it's the operating system that runs behind successful business owners, right?
Totally. We call it a cadence within our company.
Yeah.
And it's not just me. I mean, my entire staff, my management team, my leadership team, they work on every time we hire somebody or promote somebody or bring them on, we help them establish a cadence for their job.
Yeah.
Okay, here's your main KPIs. These are the things, your main tasks, your main duties. These are the 10 things that you have to do every week.
Right.
Build a schedule and then work around that. Like, lock it in. And it's great because with technology and Google Drive and all this, we all share each other's calendars. So when you want to create a meeting or an in-office meeting or impromptu meeting, you can just search that calendar, search that person, and see what their availability is, because they already have stuff blocked in. I mean, it just increases your efficiency tenfold. You can get more done with less, and more importantly, less stress and less headaches.
Yeah, more done. It's the definition of working smarter.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Randy. I appreciate having you on here.
Thank you, man. It was a blast. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll talk to you again.